You know, I thought I saw a pony cat. Hey, I thought I saw another pony cat. I saw two pony cats.
Well, welcome to the next installment of Richard's Toy Room. As you can see, today we're going to work on these vintage Janex talking alarm clocks. This is the Tweety model. As you can see, I have two of them. I just happened to be able to pick up two for a pretty decent price. Not from the same seller, just happened to be the same week. And one's missing the battery cover, and as you can see, there's supposed to be at least one more tree on here. I'm doing a little research trying to figure that out. I know there's at least one tree missing, and this one's missing too, so I thought I could possibly recreate this, or I'm just waiting if I can find another one that has a lot more damage but maybe still has the trees, and I can just swap them out and put them on this one. But anyway, we're going to attempt to fix both of them, but the goal is to get at least one working properly and take the best parts off of both of these and make one really nice one, and then hopefully I'll be able to fix both of them. Neither of them work right now. One of them, the clock does work. I didn't even test the other one yet, but it just happened. They must have wound it up before they mailed it to me because it was still ticking when I got it. It's obviously has run out by now because you don't hear any ticking. But anyway, so we will be disassembling these clocks and attempting to get these to work. So stay tuned, and by the magic of video, when you next see these, we'll be taking them apart. So here we are. What you got to do first thing is there's 4 Phillips head screws in the bottom of this, so you take those out, and then you got to pull this bottom panel off. We'll do one at a time. As you, I don't know if you can see, but somebody did leave a battery in this one. This is the one that I couldn't get the switch to even move on, so we'll have to figure out what the problem is with that. I'm having a little trouble even getting this off now. I'm not sure. I've never taken one of these apart, so I don't know what's involved in this. I don't know if this is stuck on something, or it looks like I think this has to come off first. This tree holds this on. I bet you this is holding. This whole thing probably goes down with the base, and I think this is all that's holding it. I don't know if I can get it off here. It's awful tight. I don't think it's screwed on. I think it's just pressure fit on there, but it's tight because it's probably never been off. But it kind of helps if you turn it. It's coming, it's just really tight. Okay, that was a bit of a chore. That was really tight on there. It's just pressure fit on this pin. So get that out of the way, and I believe this should come off now. Or at least most of the way. There we go. Okay. Well, right off the bat, I don't see anything obvious, so we're going to have to take a look at this. Well, the platform is driven by this with a belt, and this belt is stretched out. So I'll probably have to find a new rubber band or something for that, use an O-ring or whatever. That shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's driven by this part of the motor here. When it gets activated, it'll turn this. So I'm sure this is just probably seized up from not using it, but this switch I also couldn't get to move when I was trying to do it earlier, so we'll have to see what's wrong there. I don't know if it's damaged or what. Well, there's definitely a problem down here with the switch. There's this piece here is just hanging. It looks like it's supposed to go down in there somewhere, so I'm gonna have to take this metal part off here, and I still can't get this switch to slide, so something's messed up down here. I'm gonna have to take this apart and see what's going on. I'm also going to have to take apart the other one and see what it looks like to see if I can fix it. Okay, so here's where we are now. I've bypassed this switch because it is broken. It looks like someone's been in here before because there's a whole piece right here that is missing, and the piece is not inside here, unfortunately, because that would have been nice to be able to just glue it back together or whatever. But luckily I do have the other clock here that I can take apart and possibly fabricate, or at least I know what I'm kind of looking at when I get to that point. But what I found out now is it does, well, it's sort of, I've got the motor turning finally. I oiled it up a little bit and I got that to actuate when I put some power here to the battery, as I do here. As you can hear, it doesn't seem to want to catch on the record and talk, so I need to take that apart and figure out why that's not engaging. So that's the next step. We're going to take this apart. Well, you'll like this story. Well, I still needed to take it apart because it was absolutely filthy and I had to clean the record, and the needle had crud all over it. And I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on with this stupid thing. And then I thought, well, I wonder if I got the polarity reversed. So I switched my wires, thinking that really didn't do anything because all I'm doing is making a connection over here with my jumper wire. And I thought, well, maybe somebody had this apart and they switched the terminals on the motor. And I thought, well, they don't look like they've been messed with. So I thought, I couldn't have put the battery in upside down, did I? So I took a look, and sure enough, I didn't look real close when I put it in because there was some dirt in there. Remember I showed you there was some a leaky battery had been in there, and so I didn't see the picture of the outline of the battery good enough. I actually had it reversed, and so the motor was running backwards, so that's why it wouldn't engage. So now when I hook up my wire, watch what happens. So there we go. So this is working perfectly. So now I have to fix this switch somehow. I'm going to take the other one apart so I can see what it's supposed to look like. And then I will put this all back together, make sure it's all oiled and everything. And you know, it looks like it's been held in here with like double-sided tape, which is all worn out. And we'll take it all completely apart, have both of them apart. We'll take the best parts from each one. Well, of course, I'll have to make sure that one works first. But we'll take the best parts from each one, and then we'll build one real nice one, and then use the secondary parts on the other one, and then we'll have at least one good one, and then we just have to find or recreate a couple of those trees that like I showed you in the beginning to complete it. So let me get working on that. Okay, so here's where we are now. Made a little more progress. This is the second clock. As you see, the first one that we test is back here. This one actually, I didn't do much to this at all. Sorry, it's doing that because I got things kind of trapped here. Anyway, it works. I just, by putting it back together, I kind of jammed a couple of things here, but it actually works better than the first one. So this will probably be the motor I keep. It sounds better, but I want to take it apart and clean it. But anyway, so now I want to take the rest of the clock apart. I want to take this house part off, and I want to figure out which lens is best and which clock works best. So I'm going to have to wind them up and let them compete and see. They usually, I've found from these clocks that they actually keep pretty good time if you keep them wound up. So I'm not too concerned about that, but you never know. I mean, it is 40-something years old. So anyway, in order to get this house off, you got, don't take these screws out here. These screws hold the actual clock face. And I also noticed that there's, whoa, I got a little ahead of you there. These screws hold the actual clock face. There's 3 of them back here. 2 of them I noticed are missing, so I'm going to have to either find replacements or one of these is going to be missing some screws. Anyway, You take these 3 screws out, and then underneath there's 4 screws going up this way. Then the whole house comes off, and it should come apart as well. Sometimes there's some tabs that kind of snap these things together, but I've never had one of these apart, so I'm not sure. I think I could see how these little trees get broken off. Probably people trying to take this apart without taking it all apart. And I've seen these for sale on eBay with various busted pieces on them, probably from people that didn't know what they were doing. Okay, so I had to go off camera for a little bit because this was being a little bit of a hassle. Now, I told you don't take these screws out, and still don't do that, but just to let you know, this is what they look like. They're long. They'll probably be very hard to duplicate to replace. So anyway, we'll get to that point when we have to. Also, here's the wind-up key. You do have to take this out. You turn it counterclockwise. You'll have to take that off to get the clock face off eventually. But I'm just showing you that now because I already did that because I was trying to figure out how to get this thing apart. But I couldn't get this stupid faceplate off. I didn't know how to get this roof off. So I finally figured out this roof is just press fit on, and it goes on this way. So you have to push here. See this lip? This roof edge locks over the lip, so you push it on this side, and there's another one on this side, and the roof will lift right off. Then, of course, now you can get the whole thing disassembled. This was in there too. I had taken it out. I was trying to figure it out. I saved you trouble of damaging your clock, and since I already took the screws out of the clock, it just basically comes right off of here. Now, if you want to replace parts like this, like if you're doing like what I'm doing, and maybe say that other one turns out to be better, you're going to have to disconnect the wiring from either the clock or the motor, because the wires go up through that hole there. So, but for right now I'm going to leave it because I don't know which one's better yet. But I just wanted to see how to get that apart and show you how to get it apart. So that's basically where we are. So I just have to do the same thing to the other one. And now that I know how, it's pretty simple. Well, that's actually good news. I found the piece broken off this switch way up in here in the top after I took the roof off this first clock. So that helps. I'll be able to glue that back on there and make it a little bit more sturdy, because I got some really nice stuff right here. It's called plastic bonding, and I believe this is the right kind of plastic, like for plastic model kits. So I'm gonna try that first, and even if that doesn't hold, I'm going to use either super glue or epoxy on top of that anyway. So that's good news. So we've got this even better now. Okay, I kind of got a little ahead of myself. The clock, the first clock is now finished, the good one that I'm going to keep. I had all the pieces and parts. You can see I took everything apart, and I picked the best pieces that had the best condition, the best color, and I used them all in the first clock, and that works great. So now I am reassembling this second clock, and it should work as well. Now I did fix this switch here. You probably can't see it. I'm sorry, I already put it together. I forgot to document that, but the piece that was missing, the glue that I had didn't work on this kind of plastic, so I used epoxy. I'm not quite sure if you can see down in there, but I basically epoxied the crap out of it with my 5-minute epoxy. I put the switch back in there, and I mean the little contact for the switch back in there, and I put double-sided tape underneath this to replace the old double-sided tape. So this, you can't really see it too good. It's sticking to my finger. Doesn't do a whole hell of a lot of good, but I guess it maybe just keeps it from rattling around. Or maybe I didn't use strong enough tape. I don't know. Either way, doesn't matter. It'll be all put together. Because when you put this on, these little rubber parts here push down on the top here and hold this down. So it's not like it's going to move anyway. Anyhow, so this is all fixed. Now this switch actually works. Works just like the other one. So that should be good to go. I just have to solder this wire back together that I desoldered to when I took it apart. And then I have to solder this wire back to these wires coming out of the clock, this one here. This one has to go back into here, and then I'll take the soldering iron and melt these pins back down like they originally were. The only issue I'm having at this moment right now, I've decided to actually even reuse the O-rings and stuff, even though you can see this one's got kind of a dent in it from sitting for a long time. They still work. I'm not overly concerned with those. I left the one in the motor. There's nothing wrong with them. They work fine. So I'll just wait until they break or something like actually goes haywire with them. It's not worth the effort to go to try to find replacements at this point. There's nothing wrong with them, except for the fact that they're just a little stretched. But like I said, they work perfectly fine. Anyway, I cleaned everything up, and I have to find one screw like this because someone had lost it, or obviously at some point, and they replaced it with this flathead one, which it works, but it's just kind of a pain in the butt to get that out with a flathead screwdriver when you could just pop a Phillips head down in there. The biggest problem I'm going to have is trying to find two matching screws to this. This is what actually holds the clock into the housing for it. They go through the back. There's 3 of them. The only other thing is I decided, from research I've done, the 2 holes here are from where the trees were. This, I think, was just a sound hole for the noise box, and I don't think there was ever a tree in there. I think there was 2 trees, and that was it. So I decided to not even bother recreating a tree for the good one. What I'll do is I'll just keep my eye open for a cheap, maybe broken clock or something, and if I can pick it up real inexpensively and it has one of the trees, I will just transfer that one to the one good clock and not even worry about the ones that are missing off of this one. So I'll probably I'll either give this one away as a gift, or I'll probably sell it on eBay to get my money back. Okay, is everybody ready for the finale? Now, I don't know if you remember from earlier, but I was missing a couple screws out of this lesser quality one. So I went to Ace Hardware, and I got 2 screws that the same length and thread as this. So first thing that we have to do, well, it's not really the first thing we have to do, but we have to put these screws in. I mean, honestly, they're not even really necessary, but it's the way they designed it. So we're going to place all the fasteners. So that it's 100%. Perfect. They're 2.5 millimeter thread, metric, in case anyone watching this is missing some on their own. So there we go. Now we'll just test the alarm functions, and hopefully it won't look like a fool and they'll actually work, because they've been sitting for a while. So let's see if we can get them to go off. That's creepy, huh? So there you go. They both work. That one just needed a nudge. So now I just need to find a tree. So I'll be looking for a damaged or non-working one, or one for parts, and then I'll have at least one complete whole one. And this one I'll probably sell. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it was instructive for those of you who may be trying to restore one. And more videos to come. Come back to Richard's Toy Room. And thanks for watching.